A single phone call, buried deep in police evidence, could unravel years of silence, and it's finally been heard. Today, we dig into how a newly uncovered phone recording has placed Chicco Twala and Khumalo in unprecedented legal danger. With a revelation so explosive, it could shift the entire Senso Maiwa case. If your private calls were suddenly played in court, what's the one thing you dread most being heard? Drop your answer below. Let's see how honest people get. It began not with a grand revelation in court, but inside a dusty case archive. Investigators sifting through unrelated files stumbled upon a recording that should never have seen daylight. Buried within hours of irrelevant chatter was a conversation so striking that it demanded immediate review. Two familiar voices surfaced, names already whispered in connection with Senso Maiwa's death. This wasn't part of the original docket, nor was it cataloged in official logs. Instead, it was hiding in plain sight, like a forgotten ghost waiting to speak again. One accidental find changed everything. What makes a recording so unnerving isn't just who's speaking, it's how they speak. The voices glide over phrases with an unsettling calm, never raising tone or betraying panic. Listeners describe the words as coded, as though every syllable carried a hidden meaning. Nothing is said directly, but hints of something taken care of hang in the air like smoke from a candle. To the untrained ear, it might sound casual. To investigators, it felt like a script rehearsed to mask darker undertones. The calmness itself becomes the alarm bell. Skeptics quickly argued. Could it really be them? That's where forensic science intervened. Using voice spectrogram analysis, technology that maps the unique vibrations of a human voice, experts confirmed near certainty. Patterns matched Chicco Twala and Khumalo down to the smallest inflection. Modern AI-assisted audio forensics makes it nearly impossible to fake such accuracy. To hear the recording and compare it with public interviews is chilling. The alignment is undeniable. Investigators state the probability of error falls below 1%. In courtroom terms, that's as good as fingerprint evidence. If admissible, this recording doesn't just add pressure, it changes the battlefield. Evidence of this magnitude could tilt an entire case from circumstantial speculation to direct implication. Defense teams know it, prosecutors know it, and the public knows it. The mere existence of a verified conversation tying two prominent figures to the most notorious unsolved murder in recent memory is dynamite. South African courts have long grappled with high-profile cases buckling under technicalities, but this time feels different. One audio clip may ignite a legal inferno no one can contain. The weight of the call deepens when aligned with the timeline. The year is 2014, a year etched in national memory as the moment football star Senso Maiwa lost his life. Every word in that conversation is now scrutinized under the shadow of that night. Small details, seemingly ordinary, take on sinister tones when placed against events from Vosloris. It is no longer just a recording. It is a thread weaving itself into a larger tragedy. The timing, the phrasing, and the very presence of these voices raise old wounds. Curiously, the recording didn't surface through an official court filing. Instead, it slipped into the hands of journalists and advocates before reaching courtroom. This suggests something more deliberate, a leak, not an accident. Why release it early? Insiders whisper about strategy. Pressure both suspects and the justice system simultaneously. By placing it in the public eye, the court of opinion reacts first, forcing institutions to follow. Whoever leaked it knew the shockwave it would send across South Africa. It's less evidence quietly submitted, more bombshell dropped in plain sight. For Chicco Twala, the damage extends beyond law. Once hailed as a pioneering producer and architect of South African pop culture, his name carried decades of influence. Yet scandals chip away at legacies faster than achievements can repair them. This recording threatens to shatter what little public trust remained. For fans who grew up with his music, the thought of Twala tied to dark secrets feels like betrayal. Public image doesn't fade slowly in these moments. It crumbles in an instant. The recording drags reputation from the stage into the shadows. Khumalo has been no stranger to controversy, but this moment towers above the rest. Already entangled in witness statements, conflicting timelines, and courtroom whispers, she now faces the most damning narrative yet. Her voice, captured in real time, doesn't just tire the events. It amplifies suspicion. Fans once defended her as a victim of circumstance, but patience wanes when new evidence surfaces. The courtroom becomes less about doubt and more about survival. For Kelly, the maze of legal twists grows darker, with exits closing one by one. When analysts dissect the call, one element keeps surfacing: avoidance. Both voices circle around direct statements, choosing vague phrases instead of clear words. Silence lingers in between, as if each pause carried more weight than the sentence before it. Psychologists who study deception often highlight these patterns: the reluctance to be specific, the preference for euphemisms, the reliance on half-finished thoughts. To the casual listener, it may sound like ordinary conversation. To trained ears, it reveals a fear of saying too much. Every pause becomes a red flag in itself. In the audio, one word rises above a murk: handled. It's repeated in different forms, sometimes as "it's been handled," other times as "already handled." The repetition is what alarms investigators. The context isn't clear, but the consistency suggests it carries weight between the speakers. In criminal inquiries, such ambiguous language often becomes a weapon. It's vague enough to deny, but heavy enough to imply action. Whether they were referring to a plan, a witness, or a problem, the phrase lingers like smoke. Words meant to hide become words that haunt. Behind courtroom doors, prosecutors rarely show excitement, but whispers say this new evidence has sparked a quiet confidence. They understand how juries and judges respond to voices, not secondhand reports or written affidavits, but the unmistakable resonance of someone speaking in their own tone. Cross-examination transforms when backed by audio proof. Instead of asking, "Did you say this?" they can press play and let the silence fall. Legal experts note that few things strike harder than a voice played aloud in court. It doesn't just inform, it confronts. Of course, defense attorneys won't surrender ground easily. Already, chatter suggests strategies forming. Claims of manipulated audio, deepfake technology, or fragments taken out of context. These arguments thrive in the digital age, where synthetic voices can be generated with startling precision. Lawyers will lean into doubt, painting the evidence as unreliable. They may even call expert witnesses to challenge the chain of custody, arguing contamination. But the problem remains: forensic analysis has already shown statistical certainty. Discrediting the audio won't be simple. The defense must sow confusion, not prove innocence. The public doesn't wait for trials. Within hours of the leak, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok erupted with hashtags demanding accountability. Memes, voice comparisons, and clips spread like wildfire, drawing millions into the conversation. Opinion polls now reveal a sharp increase in citizens calling for immediate prosecution. For many South Africans, the Maiwa case isn't just about a celebrity tragedy. It symbolizes justice delayed. The recording rekindles outrage long thought to be cooling. In a nation where digital voices shape real narratives, this leak becomes more than evidence. It becomes a movement. Interestingly, the recording reached newsrooms before it appeared in official dockets. That timing reveals intent. Someone wanted journalists to shape the story before lawyers touched it. Veteran reporters described this tactic as trial by exposure, where the media primes the public to demand answers, forcing courts to act faster. It's a risky move, but one that often works. By the time evidence enters the courtroom, the nation is already watching with expectations sky high. Whoever made this choice understood that in South Africa, media doesn't just report history. It pressures it. If the audio stands, the prosecution strategy may undergo a radical shift. Witnesses who previously gave uncertain or conflicting accounts might be recalled, their testimonies re-examined against the backdrop of the recording. A single phrase in the audio could force a witness to clarify or contradict earlier statements. That kind of reshuffle isn't just procedural. It alters the rhythm of the trial. Lawyers would adapt their lines of questioning, and witnesses who once felt peripheral could suddenly become crucial. In court, evidence doesn't just add weight. It rearranges the board. What began as a South African scandal has now crossed borders. International outlets frame the case as a defining test for the nation's justice system. Some compare it to the O.J. Simpson trial in America, a cultural moment where crime, celebrity, and public trust collide. The phone evidence, they argue, is more than a clue in one case. It's a referendum on transparency and accountability. Foreign commentators point out that if such high-profile figures can be scrutinized, it signals a turning point. For global audiences, this isn't just gossip, it's history unfolding.